you to understand some of the things I'm going to talk about in this devotion, however, you're going to have to learn a little bit about my family. So let me give you just a brief primer about that. I have a lovely wife by the name of Patty, who is a nurse, and she loves her job and does it very, very well. And I also have two wonderful children. I have a 6-year-old daughter named Amberly Elaine Allen. Her nickname is Abby. And I have a 2-year-old son whose name is Paul Joseph Allen V. Yes, I did do that to him. But we call him Joe, because we figured he'd like a short name if he's going to have to write that long name on all the legal documents for the rest of his life. And my daughter Abby, being a 6-year-old girl, loves to be a princess, loves to wear dresses, and then she loves to play football and climb trees. So we haven't quite figured out how she fits into those roles, if she's a tomboy or not, but she seems to be doing very well and is very loving. And my son Joe, being born in North Carolina, loves cars, especially NASCAR. And so if you ever see my son Joe, you will know it is him, because he will be the one shouting vroom vroom as he runs through the ball. Also, my mother, Barbara Allen, lives very close to us as well. My mother's been a big part of my life. She was my minister when I was in junior high and high school, and was also an area minister in Missouri, so I learned a great deal from her. And she will be traveling with us anywhere that we go, so you will get to meet her. I will tell you that I grew up in Wilson, North Carolina, and went to Barton College there, which is a wonderful disciple school that you helped to fund. But also spent some time in Wichita, Kansas. My father, Paul Joseph Allen III, was one of the associate regional ministers in Kansas, was the South Central District regional minister. And so he spent a lot of time in this area. And I spent 8 years in Wichita and loved it and loved being back. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come back for that. I also have a brother. His name is Carlos Allen. Carlos is adopted. He's 1 year older than I am. He and his wife live in Wichita, and they have 3 wonderful children. And so this has given me an opportunity to see them as well. I have a very interesting family. Not just the family that I grew up with. As I told you, Carlos is adopted, so of course that's always interesting. And you know, you see me, and of course my family is all, they all kind of look like me, especially the males. We're all kind of short, we're all rather robust. We all have kind of that Allen look about us. And then people look at my brother and they see this short little Honduran man with long curly hair. He's stiff as a rail. You know, I always joke with him, he looks like Antonio Banderas if you cut him down at the knees. And people just look at us and wonder why we get along so well together. And it's because we grew up with one another. We grew up as brothers. It didn't matter that Carlos was from another country. In fact, most of the times when I introduce him to people, I don't say, here's my adopted brother. I say, here's my brother. Because that's how we feel about him. He is a part of our family. But, being brothers, we often squabble. We have our own fights because we are very, very different. And while we were growing up, we spent turns locking each other in the closet. We spent turns running around in the dirt. We spent turns arguing over toys or arguing over other things that were important to us at that time. We knew what it was like to have a squabble. But we also knew that as we traveled on through our lives, that no matter what, if one of us got in trouble anywhere, our brother was going to be there to back us up. That he was always going to be there to make sure that everything was okay. The reason I'm telling you so much about my relationship with my brother is because our scripture lesson tonight is from the book of Mark. It's chapter 10, verses 35 through 45. And it is the story of 2 very well-known brothers. Now, this isn't a disagreement that they had. This is a question that they asked Jesus. And you can tell very quickly that brothers tend to stick together by the scripture lesson. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came forward to him and said to him, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." And he said to them, "What is it you want me to do for you?" And they said to him, "Grant us to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left, in your glory." But Jesus said to them, "You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with?" They replied, "We are able." Then Jesus said to them, "The cup that I drink you will drink, and with the baptism with which I am baptized you will be baptized. But to sit at my right hand or at my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those to whom it has been prepared." When the 10 heard this, they began to be angry with James and John. So Jesus called them and said to them, "You know that among the Gentiles, those whom they recognize as their rulers lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. But it is not so among you. But whoever wishes to become great amongst you must be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you must be slave to all. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many." May God bless this, the reading of the Word. I once heard another preacher say that Jesus must have known he was in trouble when James and John came to him and said, "We want you to do whatever we ask you." Now, those of you with kids, I think you can relate to this. When one of your children, your sweet, innocent children, come up to you and say, "Mommy, Daddy, I want you to say yes to whatever we ask you." Automatically, in the back of your head, you're thinking, "Oh, Lord, what's going on?" Jesus must have known he was in trouble. It's a no-win situation. It's the same as when someone asks you, "What do you really think?" Or, "Do you want the truth?" So Jesus replied, "What do you want me to do for you?" He knew this rule. It's the same response this parent makes when their child starts treating them with unusual respect. "Oh, let me get that for you, Dad. What do you want?" James and John told Jesus that they wanted him to grant them the honor of sitting at his left and his right hand when he came to glory. Now, this is royal imagery. The seats at the left and right hands of the king were reserved for his heirs, the second and third most powerful people in the kingdom. And the person who sat at the right hand was usually seen as favored. So I often wonder if Jesus had actually said yes to their request, if James and John's next question would have been, "Okay, who gets to sit at your right hand?" But Jesus knew how absolutely absurd this question was.